problem is that, we have these problems that keep popping up like this, but we seem to be unable to do anything to stop them. And that's troublesome. But, you've got police officers being shot at from high altitudes by people with killing machines, weapons that were meant for war, the type of weapon I use when I was in the Marine Corps. They're only meant for killing people. And now we have police officers being sniped at in Dallas. That's a upping the ante in the game a little bit, I think. You've got all these families of all these people who are simply being ripped apart by the violence in this country. It's happening in Kansas City. It's slow motion mass murder here. It's happened in Minnesota. It happened in Baton Rouge. It's happened in Dallas. All within, 72 hours? I thought that one of the obligations of government was to solve problems like this. Okay, I certainly believe that it is, or do things to solve problems, but we don't seem to be willing to do the necessary things. On the local level, our hands are tied by the state law that allows us to do nothing except what they tell us to. And it's killing us, literally. On the federal level, I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with people owning guns, but AR-15s, why? And now I think we see exactly why they're so good at what they do, because that's what they were made to do. Now we have cops that are dead. I don't know what else to say. It's frankly a little bit numb. Gotta wonder what's happening to all the people in these folks' lives. I mean, what's their day like today? And how long is it going to be before they can really smile and feel normal? I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell to say to stuff like this when we just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and take absolutely no steps to prevent it. None. That is criminal, it is irresponsible, and it's politics, and it's all nonsense. I'm sorry, it's not politics, it's money. It might heighten the discussion beyond where it's previously been, because never before has there been, and this isn't the first time a black man has been killed by a cop for under suspicious circumstances, but this is the first time that police officers have then been killed immediately thereafter, and you have to wonder if there's a connection. And the bottom line is, none of these folks should have died, not a single one. It wasn't necessary. The guy in Baton Rouge, why did he die? He had a gun. Okay, he was on the ground, but he had a gun. So if he hadn't had a gun, would there have been this heightened sense of threat? The guy in Minnesota told him apparently that he had a gun. Officer, probably young, inexperienced, not well trained, overreacts to that, and he's dead. Then somebody may be retaliating against police because nothing seems to happen after these shootings? Who knows? Viable theory? I think so. And they're dead. And so I don't think that none of these conversations get finished like this. They will simply fade away until the next set of conversations comes up, because that's the pattern. You remember a bunch of kids getting killed in a school? Okay, what happened after that? The biggest mass murder in the history of the country in Orlando? What's going on? What's changing? Now we have cops that are being sniped at from buildings and killed on the streets in the cities of this country. I don't know. Will we do anything about it? That's the real question, is why aren't we doing something to protect lives in this country that could be protected if we'd simply do some certain basic things that aren't going to kill anybody, aren't going to interfere with your rights, but all this hyperbolic nonsense is nothing more than a way to continue for gun manufacturers to make more and more money. That's what this is about. It's about money. Buy yourself a politician, sell more guns. Recognize that the situations that occurred in those places occurred because of some basic factors. We have a very well-trained police force, and I know that Chief Forte is very big on issues in training in terms of disengagement and de-escalation. I think he showed that in the marches around the plaza after Ferguson, when the marchers tired after marching so long, call buses, put them on buses and took them back to their cars. That's how we do things a little differently here. But the situations remain the same. When you have officers that are forced to walk up to people in cars not knowing whether or not the person has a gun in the car and who they are, that's going to create more tension and it's going to be a problem. We need to try to do something to curb that and protect the police officers and lessen those tensions at car sides so that they don't happen. We need police to understand that not every violation is a death warrant. You know, broken tail lights shouldn't result in death under any set of circumstances. Any set of circumstances, and I think our officers do. With regards to the other things that happen, you know, we have got to, we're getting better, but we have got to be willing to stand up and say as a city, no violence. People calling me up and saying, what am I doing to stop homicide, isn't going to solve the problem. I'm doing everything I can, and probably a little bit more if I really can. But the bottom line is until this community stands up and says it, and that means I see something, I'm saying something. That means I'm not protecting you when I see you doing things that are dangerous to other people. If I see you beating your kid in the grocery store, I'm calling the police. If I see somebody who having a gun and acting like an idiot with it, I'm calling the police. But until people want to do that and be responsible for their own little part of this problem, then we're going to continue to have this problem. We need to get better at it. We need to have better relationships with the police, and I think the police are doing a pretty decent job. We can all step up our game, every one of us. I haven't been in touch with Dallas yet. I'll call Mayor Rollins later in the day. I'm sure he's got his hands full, and the last thing he needs is every mayor in the country that he knows, and he knows just about all of them, calling and wishing him the best. He doesn't have time for that. We'll be in touch in a way that's not intrusive on what he really needs to focus on. And I've also doing the same thing with the mayor in Minnesota and the mayor in Baton Rouge. You know, one thing about mayors, we tend to stick together and know each other because we all have the same set of problems and issues. So we have 3 cities now touched by national newsworthy violence, all surrounding guns, and at least in 2 instances we know of, black and white issues that still remain unresolved, and who knows about the 3rd. But, you know, I can't tell you it won't happen here. I can tell you that I don't think that we have the tinder and the gasoline and the matches that close together that it's going to happen here, but it could. You know, you can't control people who are crazy. You can't control people who have access to high-powered weapons and need their meds. How do we control that? You know, we hope for the best. We do everything we can, and we try to be reasonable in our approaches. That's all we can do. But in terms of stopping violence before it happens, hell, if we could do that, this would be a much safer country.